Hello, 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 and welcome back to Bandit Network Television. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight we are going to be discussing the Delphi murder case. The two girls that you are looking at on the screen is Abigail Williams and Liberty German. They were best friends. And on February 13th of 2017, they went out to take a hike. It was their day off from school, and it was unusually warm in February. And unfortunately, they never did return back home. The following day, on the 14th of February 2017, their bodies were discovered nearby the Monon High Bridge, and this is taking place in Delphi, Indiana. 5 years later, in October 2022, Delphi police arrested Richard Allen for the crimes committed against Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So, DJ, can you please turn down the music just a little bit? Thank you. The title of this video, as you can read, something is seriously off. And before I go any further, let me just go ahead and should have already stated this, but this is anything that you listen to in this podcast is for entertainment, which if you find entertaining, cool, but more of educational purposes only. And all of this stuff is alleged. Every last bit of it. This is just me providing my commentary on the Delphi case. And I think I should also say this, that I did not come into the Delphi case until the arrest of Richard Allen. So that was in October of 2022, and I began to look into it. I do understand that there's people out there that's been following it since it broke. So if you guys know more information than what I do, or if you want to piggyback off of anything that I do say in this podcast, then you can leave your comments below. I do read my comments, and I receive a lot of interesting comments from you. But that being said, y'all, I don't think that Delphi police has the right person. I really don't. And let me just go ahead and say this too, and I bring this topic up because it plays into Richard Allen's attorneys, Rosie and the other guy, of Odinism, which a lot of people don't know what Odinism is. I didn't know what it was either until hearing about it in this case. I didn't even know it existed. And I was like, okay, well, it's interesting. And the defense is, at first, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I'm like, is this really what they have? Because it sounds like an act, like a literal act, right? Like a sideshow. But when you really begin to look into this stuff, you would be surprised of how much it's well known among people. And just recently, which I find is very interesting, I was having a conversation with somebody at my job, and somehow, some way, they I remember they brought up the Delphi case. So they're familiar with the case, right? I live in Indiana, for the ones of you that are wondering. So he knows about the Delphi case. And I was explaining about, Richard Allen and his defense team, and, how they brought up Odinism. And he was like, oh, really? That's what so and so, referring to somebody else that he was talking about, referring to somebody else. Oh, that's what he is. He's an Odinist. I'm like, no shit. So, y'all, this is some weird. Something's not right in Delphi. Okay, something is off kilter for real. Like, and I understand that some people, they want to argue. We really don't know what all the state of Indiana has against Richard Allen, but let's keep in mind that thus far, there has been no DNA forensics nor digital evidence linking Richard Allen to that location at the crime scene. The reason why he was arrested was because of a bullet. Now, this is where it kind of gets into other territory. I don't know if Richard Allen is innocent, but I'm really beginning to think that if he was involved, there could have been other people that were involved with him. I just don't see, in my opinion, I don't think that they have the right guy, you know? And I've already stated my thoughts on Ron Logan and how I think he could have committed these crimes, but he passed away back, I believe, in 2020, 2021. So, pretty much there's nothing that police can do even if he did. But it's awfully suspicious how early early on in the investigation, FBI had search warrants for Ron Logan's property. And I believe that one of the other previous commentaries that I played for you on the Delphi podcast, that FBI agent believed that Ron Logan could have committed the crime of murder. That's verbatim what she said. And see, that's not also to mention Ron Logan lying about his alibi. I don't know if Ron Logan did this. We will never know if Ron Logan did this. He took that secret to the grave. Again, the man passed away back in 2020 or 2021. So it's untelling. But that would make sense because police have to, well, hell, they have to charge somebody with this crime. So maybe Richard Allen, if he was involved, he had help, or he was not directly involved. Like, I don't know if he directly did this to these two girls, or he helped someone, uh, whatever the word is, coerce them down the hill. But something is seriously off. And there's some other commentary that I do want to play right now. and it's pertaining to the updates coming out of Delphi. So the latest updates is that later this month, this is being recorded on February 2nd of 2024, but later in February 2024, that the Judge Gall is going to request, I believe, the prosecution to add on additional charges to Richard Allen, and also the hearing to request that Richard Allen's prior defense team has to answer. I don't know exactly. They're really, it's just a bunch of courtroom drama, honestly. But let me just go ahead and play this commentary. So this is coming from Fox 59 News. A friendly reminder that this does fall under the Copyright Act of 1976. I will be providing my commentary after. It's only a 3-minute video. I'll probably be stopping it periodically to share my thoughts, but under fair use for educational purposes only. Let's see what Fox 59 has to say about the Delphi case.
Well, new information just into the Fox 59 newsroom today. The special judge overseeing the Delphi murders case will consider 2 issues in a hearing later this month. Judge Fran Gohl will hear a request from the prosecution to add murder and kidnapping charges for suspect Richard Allen. She'll also hear a request from the prosecution to hold Allen's defense team in contempt of court. That hearing will be held February 12th. Meantime, we're getting exclusive insights today on the Delphi double murders case from William Librato, the Allen County Chief Public Defender. A special judge appointed him to represent Allen, but now he's off the case after the state Supreme Court reinstated the original defense team.
Fox 59 spoke with him this morning from Allen County to discuss these proceedings, and he says he hasn't seen anything quite like the Delphi murders case.
It has garnered so much media attention nationally. I've never seen so many twists and turns in a case such as these.
So let me just stop it right there. This is Richard Allen's now former public defender that is speaking. He was assigned by Judge Gall, and then because of the Supreme Court, they reinstated his original attorneys. So this man is off Richard Allen's case, but he has openly came out and said, based off the information that has been presented to him, I'm repeating this verb, paraphrasing, just disclaimer. He believes that Richard Allen is innocent. Now, mind you, that is that's a strong statement, because there is a difference between believing that your client is innocent and believing that there's no evidence that supports them, that supports connecting them to the crime, right? Let's carry on.
Special Judge Fran Gohl first appointed Librato and another attorney as new representation. As you know, Richard Allen faces 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Libby German and Abby Williams in February 2017. Well, the appointments came after Judge Gohl said Allen's original defense team withdrew from this case following an evidence leak. As we said, the Indiana Supreme Court ultimately reinstated those original attorneys. The second set of attorneys then filed a motion last week to withdraw from this case,
which means they're no longer bound by the case's gag order. And now, Librato speaking exclusively with us. This morning, he spoke about the current defense's Odinism theory that Abby and Libby could have been killed in an ancient cult ritual. Librato had this to say about that particular theory.
There are people that were very brazen at the time of the murders on their Facebook accounts about being part of this Odinistic cult. Now, whether they're responsible, I don't know.
Brado says he never heard of Odinism before researching it for this case. He adds, above all else, it's important for all sides to, quote, get this case right for Abby and Libby's family.
My heart goes out to the families of those two little girls. I mean, this was a horrific, horrific crime. But I'm sure the families want to make sure that law enforcement not only arrests, but convicts the right person or people that were involved in this heinous crime.
And you can see how community members throughout Delphi continue to honor Abby and Libby. We have much more on our website at Fox 50.
Okay, so again, that was Fox 59 News. That information that is coming out of Fort Wayne. So this defense attorney is, you heard him claim that there were people on social media, something about social media, the ones on social media that was talking about Odinism. Is that what he said? I'm trying to make sure that I'm hearing that correct. Let's go back and listen to what he said.
Being part of this Odinistic cult. Now, whether they're responsible of the murders on their Facebook accounts about
in an ancient cult ritual, Brado had this to say about that particular theory.
There are people that were very brazen at the time of the murders on their Facebook accounts about being part of this Odinistic cult.
Okay, so he's claiming that around the time of the murders, there were people that were on Facebook brazen overtly about their personal beliefs in Odinism. Odinites, people that followed this Odinism faith. Okay, that's interesting. And this is now keep in mind, this is the reason why Odinism and this whole thing about Odinism is relevant is because that is one of the defense, Richard Allen defense's arguments. Rosie and the other attorney, that is what their arguments were, is that they claim that there is a ritualistic cult known as Odinism. It has been hijacked by some racist white American, I don't know what like it's been taken over by racism, like racist people. So it doesn't have a good reputation, but at its core, and correct me if I do get this wrong, and if you're an Odinite, and if you're listening to this, or if you know anything about Odinism, you are welcome to comment below and correct me if I am wrong. But it is an ancient Nordic paganism. If I'm getting that right. It's a form of paganism. It's religion. So it stems off of paganism. Huh. But that's what the defense team is claiming. Who is responsible? The defense team has also came out and said that Richard Allen has no connections to Odinism based off of searches on his phone, his laptop, his computer. Everything was gathered on this man's devices. His digital DNA footprint does not lead anywhere back to Odinism. And based off of the things that I'm researching and the things that I'm hearing about people that are Odinites or that follow Odinism, they're not so subtle to let people know that they're Odinites. So they go around bragging, being overt about it. It's kind of like in your face. And that brings me into this next disturbing detail that is coming out about this defense attorney, because he is claiming the same guard that we're hearing about that had the Odinism patch on their uniform at Westfield Correctional Facility where Richard Allen is being held. Now, mind you, that is a maximum security prison, and Richard Allen has not even went to trial. The man hasn't went to trial, but he's being held in a prison, not a county jail. One of the many strange things about the Delphi case, but again, that's a whole separate. You can run down many rabbit holes. I'm trying to stay on track here. One disturbing detail is that the same safety guard that was with Richard Allen that the defense is allegedly claiming had the Odinism patch, and after the judge said, hey, y'all can't be doing this, and made the, game warden enforce the rules of taking the patch off, or you can't have patches. Well, I guess that the security guard went out and did they have the tattoo before under their eye? Because according to what the defense is saying now, from this attorney, is that they have a tattoo of Thor's spear, which is the god Odin in Odinism. So Odinism symbolism, they got tattooed under their eye. There's also Odinism symbolism all over their arms as well, according to what this defense attorney is saying. Hold on for 1 second. Let me see if I can bring it up. Let me see if I can actually share with you where he's talking about this, because this is very interesting. These are the same guards that the defense has also claimed blackmailed or threatened Richard Allen into calling and confessing to the crimes that he was charged of. And I believe that happened back in April of last year. Just to add a little context to what we're talking about. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Bandit Network Television. Okay, I'm so sorry. I am back. Let's listen to what Vinnie Politan from Court TV has to say about what's being said, the information that is coming from Richard Allen's former defense attorney, which, mind you, he is not under a gag order since he has been removed from the case. So that's why he is able to spill the tea, per se. Let's carry on. Let's carry on, shall we? Okay.
Say, we know who did it. It was the Odinist. What's an Odinist? Like, before I started covering this case, I never heard of an Odinist. I never heard of Odinism. And apparently it's, depending upon who you ask, it's ancient Norse religion, predates Christianity, where they, Odin is the god, but it's sort of been hijacked by white nationalists. So it has this sort of evil spin-off where it's a legit religion on the one hand by some people, and then sort of hijacked on the other hand by others. So that's what they're saying. This was a ritualistic killing, like a sacrifice. Sick stuff. So, Barbara McDonald, Court TV senior producer and a Court TV exclusive, sat down with Richard Allen's former attorney, his replacement counsel, William Libredo, and here's what he had to say about Odinism.
You had not heard of Odinism when it first was floated with regard to this case?
I honestly thought, I was like, no disrespect to Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie, because they're excellent lawyers. I thought it was hocus pocus. I honestly didn't. I never heard of it. And the more I got into it, that's a real thing. It is a real thing, and it's scary.
In what way?
Well, I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one.
So according to what he's saying, he believes that the Odinists, y'all, that they sacrificed one girl and killed the other one. Now that's interesting. I think that I was listening to this yesterday whenever it first, I believe, aired. And I was thinking, why would he phrase it like that? Like they sacrificed one and killed the other one. Why would they not just sacrifice both of them? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be rude or crude. But it's just weird how he phrased that. How, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just overthinking things. But you would think that, well, we're led to believe, if you want to believe that Odinists were responsible, they would clearly not just sacrifice one, sacrifice two. I don't know. Plus, they're saying that the runes, the sticks that were found on the two girls were in formation of runes that linked back to this Odinism. Carry on.
Some of the people that live in Delphi were very brazen about their Odinistic beliefs on their Facebook pages and other social media accounts, including the
Sorry about that advertisement.
Accounts, including the sergeant who was in charge of keeping Mr. Allen safe in Westville. It's real. Just the other day, Robert and I were going to lunch, and we saw a Jeep Wrangler right here in Fort Wayne with a spare tire on the back, and the cover said Odin, and it had all Odin spears like around on the cover. I would have never known what that meant outside of this case. So Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Rosie were on to something right away.
Baldwin and Rosie, according to what he's saying, were onto something initially. Now, some other information that I should have mentioned, which is actually very important. This theory, and please pay close attention to what I'm about to say. The theory of Odinism was introduced early on into the investigation. However, the individuals were not looked into thoroughly. And I guess police got some other tips that led them elsewhere with their interest. Now you're hearing about 17, so like 7 years later going on, about 7 years, February 14th, 13th, 14th. So in 12 more days would mark the 7-year anniversary. You're hearing that people around the time of the crimes were posting to social media about Odinism and, you know, the theory that an Odinist Odinistic, if that is a word, cult could have been behind the deaths of Abby and Libby is nothing new. It's just now being brought back to light. And thank God. Because even if you don't think that Ron Logan was responsible, it provides, well, who did this, right? Because yeah, Richard Allen, there's eyewitness accounts that Richard Allen's clothing matched an eyewitness account of someone looking muddy and bloody, and he admitted to being in the area. And let's not forget the bullet that was found at the crime scene that matched the gun at his home. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that earlier. I probably got sidetracked, but that's another important point here. The whole reason why he was arrested, y'all, was because of the bullet that matched a gun that was at his home in October 2022. This information came out, and he was arrested. So that's why he's in custody. So I'm not saying that there's evidence that is not strong enough, because that's pretty strong evidence. So I don't know what happened. Did he give the gun to somebody? Did he supply the gun to somebody? What happened? And I'm just telling you the information. What we know so far. Richard Allen has no criminal history. He was a pharmacist at CVS, and he worked there for years. Or Walgreens, or whatever it was. Point of the matter is, he has no criminal history. He doesn't know what Odinism is when questioned by his attorneys. There's no evidence that points to him researching Odinism, anything to do with Odinism. There's no digital evidence that points him at the crime. There's no forensics that point him to the crime. I don't know. Could he have been a part of the crime? I don't know. I'm not saying that he's completely innocent either. I don't know. That's the point of the matter is, we don't know. And this is coming up on the trial. So I guess we'll find out more information when this does go to trial. Hopefully, I believe it's going to happen pretty soon. But yeah, let's continue on with what Court TV has to say about this, or his former attorney, what he's saying. Sorry for being so winded. I'm sorry about that. I just get sidetracked.
You described one of those officers that's mentioned in one of Rosie and Baldwin's filings, Sergeant Jones, who was wearing patches that said "In Odin We Trust" on his Department of Corrections uniform. Yep. The judge ordered the warden to make them stop. And then what did you notice?
That Mr. Jones had a tattooed under his right eye. From the best we can tell, it looks a lot like Odin's spear. And he had several tattoos on his forearms, including the interlocking triangles that are on his Facebook post. I got to give credit to Mr. Rosie and Mr. Baldwin that, they picked up on that. We saw him, and officers at the Allen County Jail aren't even allowed to have facial hair, let alone facial tattoos. I was a little miffed that the warden allowed that, or, he even knew what it was.
He looks a little scared talking about Odinism. I mean,
well, I mean, he sounds like he's disturbed to me, I would say, about the information that he's relaying to you people.
I don't know if he was scared. I know that he was being very careful with his words. As an attorney, he wanted to be sure that what he said was
Very
what he
true,
meant.
as he should.
But yeah, I think he probably
Very
does feel a
true.
little intimidation by it. He said it's a scary thing. And once you begin to become aware of it and you see it more often, he might not have known what that tattoo was had this issue not already been raised.
So
the
wait, hold on for 1 second. I'm going to pause him real quick. You heard him give commentary also about him driving around with somebody in the car, and then they see this Odinism symbolism, which, let me just go ahead and pull this up. That way it provides context and you get a better understanding of what is we're talking about. He said Odin's spear was on the back of somebody's Jeep Wrangler, their spare tire. Odinism symbol while driving around in Indianapolis or Fort Wayne or wherever he said. Yeah. And I just have to, I'm just right there along with him. I'm like, I didn't even hear anything. I didn't know anything about Odinism. I didn't know anything about native paganism. I had no idea. I heard of paganism, but I haven't heard of, Odinism. That's completely new to me up until me looking into the Delphi case. And whenever his defense attorneys came out with this, I'm like, what? You people, are they really? Like, because it was hard for me to take them seriously at first. Not trying to be disrespectful, but it just seems like that it would be off the wall, landish. But the more you dig into it and you really begin to see that it's more known about than what you perceive it. Again, I just found out that someone at my job was an Odinism or Odinist. And I was thinking, I wonder if they would want to come on, the network. But then again, I'm like, I don't think I should do that because I just don't think it would be a good idea. But it would be interesting to hear from somebody that is an Odinite or Odinist.
of the Odinist, I mean, there was a task force trying to solve this case, and this isn't like the defense just scraped this up. It came from the task force. There was a faction of the task force that was going down this road and believed in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know this stuff existed. I was just like, are they serious? And then you see more of the symbolism, and the more you look at the symbolism behind the stuff, and you start to see it. People have tattoos. You see people get tattoos and really begin to. Maybe it didn't even occur to you before, but now because you know about Odinism, you're like, oh, that's what it means. Oh, okay. It's kind of crazy.
And then the allegation from all these defense attorneys is they didn't do a very good job of ruling it in or out, and that there were people who had ties to Odinism who should have been checked out further and weren't.
All the things you love with great discounts. TikTok shopping makes everything trending. Find a perfect outfit in Demo's new arrivals. It's time to elevate your wardrobe with Demo's free gifts. Comes in extended sizes, small to 3XL, and have been sold.
Sorry about that, y'all.
And weren't.
Timu
All right,
ad.
let's bring back in our guest, Chris Todd, investigative producer Mike King, religious cult expert. Chris, I'll begin with you.
I'm just going to go ahead and stop it right there because I just wanted to share that piece of commentary with you. But let's go ahead and, in conclusion of this podcast, because I'm not going to make this a long-winded podcast, I don't think that they have the right person in custody, in my opinion. And if they do, I don't think that Richard Allen did this alone. Am I saying that he's innocent? Nope. I don't know if he's innocent. Am I saying that he's guilty? I don't know if he's guilty. I've already told you who I think that I probably, it's Ron Logan, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. But I don't know, y'all. Something's just not right. And the more that you look into this Odinism and Ron Logan and several other questionable things that have happened over the years in this case, I heard something about one of the prosecuting attorneys dropped dead in front of the courthouse, or someone dropped dead that was associated with the case just dropping dead. So random. I mean, it's crazy. The more you look into it, it's creepy, but that is it, y'all. I do hope that we get answers for this case, and for the most part, for the families, because they're the ones that deserve the answers. And let me just go ahead and say this, and then I will go. Despite it would be an injustice if they do have the wrong person in custody, police do, because I'm sure that my heart goes out to the families, because this was a terrible thing to happen to their loved ones. But I'm sure that they would want the right person in custody, the one that actually did this to Abby and Libby in custody, or at least know the truth if that person is deceased. And if there's any way they can prove that it's anybody other than Richard Allen, or if Richard Allen had help, at the end of the day, we just want the truth, and we want the right person to be brought to justice. We don't want someone being framed. We don't want a guy being framed for 2 murders that he didn't commit. And so far, the evidence in the Delphi case, I definitely don't think, it stacks against the Idaho case, because you can argue that there's stuff going on within the Idaho case, a lot of stuff going on within the Idaho case that's very questionable. And you can argue that things don't add up within that case. There's a lot of things that don't add up in that case, but in this case, there is screeching red alarms that are going off. Just things off the wall crazy, but I don't know. I really don't. I just hope that we find out more answers at trial, guys. So share your thoughts and opinions below. If you know more about this case, and if you've looked into it, how long you have been following Delphi. Like, share, and also subscribe to the network. And go check out my previous podcast and commentary on other cases and topics, because I discuss other things in true crime. If you ever get tired of hearing about crime and following these cases, because they can get dark and depressing. And it's not good to consume that type of stuff all the time. So if you guys want to take a break, I do invite you to go look at my other content where we talk about pop culture and celebrities. So if that's your cup of tea and gossip, who's dating, who, all types of gossip, So if that's your cup of tea, then go check out my previous content. You have been listening to Bandit Network Television. Donations are welcome too. My links will be included within the description box below. Thank you for watching.